All right, developers, we're going to start talking about operators. Operators are going to be these special characters that we use that are going to perform a function on one or more operands, right? And so we've actually already been using an operator to date. Again, I'm going to go back to my message. This equal sign is an operator, okay? And this assigns a value. So what is going on here is that, here we go. I'll open up in live server. I'm going to open up in live server. I have my terminal open here at the bottom. Let me move this over to the left as we've been doing before. I'm going to hide my little Explorer window. And then I'm going to drag this guy over to the right? But now, again, if you've watched the video, I'm going to open up my developer tools. Right click, inspect, or Control-Shift-I. And now I'm going to have my developer tools open here again because I want to see all my developer tools, right? So the equals sign, right, is the assignment operator. Now we're going to talk a little bit about math. And so thankfully, in case you didn't know it, a lot of software development does not depend on math. People like to say that because of the logic, because we use variable names. It's like the best thing that they come. It's like the closest thing that you can get to outside of the world of algebra, where you use logic like we do here. But as far as doing math and math operations, you don't have to do it as often as people would think. Yes, it does come into play, but it doesn't feel like math most of the time when you go to do it. All right, so, but we got to talk about the operators here. So we're going to declare another variable called, let's just say here's the cost, and the cost is going to be a number. For our cost equals 99, and let's just say, how much do I have in the bank? I'm going to say it's a little bit more. So now I have two numbers, right? I can console log them. Oh, console.log the two numbers. I'm going to console.log the cost of a particular product that I might have. And then I'm going to console log the bank, whatever money I have in the bank. Let me write this money banked, just so that it feels for me a little bit better. So I'm going to establish those three variables that we have. Oh, console.log. Right, log. So I have a message and I have two numbers that I've logged. Now let's talk about the plus sign. The plus sign is going to do, what is it going to be? Let's just say, what is it that I have left after I take my money banked? Actually, let me make another one because I want to go off of, I want to do the plus sign first. And I want to say, here's my weekly check, and it's going to be 100. So new money is I'm gonna assign to the variable new money the expression that I get from saying money banked plus what I get in my check. Okay, and if I console log that, I get new money. Here we go. I'm gonna hit save. And then we're going to see on the right that we have these three numbers plus this number defined. They were all logged here, right? So there's new money being logged right there. And here they all are. Again, numbers, these variables pointing to these values. So let's talk a little bit more about the definition of what these operators are and the operands are and what an expression is. Because it's really important to understand expression, what we mean by expression. So the operand in question here, the plus sign here, does a particular, let me bring this to a window that I can draw in. Give me 1 second. So the plus sign here allows me to perform an operation upon two operands. Okay, so these two operands that we're talking about is money banked and the check that I get every week. So the expression, so what do? The operand, the operator is going to add these two numbers, okay? And so this here right? Again, going back a little bit to algebra days, the parentheses, these two things here are what we call an expression. The expression yields a value. The expression yields a value, and it is being assigned right now to the new money variable, okay? So it comes over, and it gets assigned to the new money variable, all right? So again, this is the expression. Those two numbers added together. They're added together by the use of the operator, the plus sign, and together that expression, which is number plus number, it yields an expression, and that expression is assigned to, let me get rid of all this stuff. This expression, the value is assigned to new money, right, to the variable there, right? And it's also assigned, again, look, another operator, right? So there's two operators in use there. This is just like standard math, but sometimes it might get a little lost because you haven't spoken about it like this before in terms of programming terms. An expression, all right, will yield a value, and it is being assigned to this variable here called new money, okay? So new money is holding that value. So new money is holding that value, and if we come back over to our developer tools, and let me go and dot this guy over to the left, we'll see that new money is holding that value. New money is now $1,100. Now, from the other videos, again, I can say new money over here and say I want to add another check, right? So if I add another check to that, right, new money plus check is $1,200. So there is the expression again, new money plus check, that's the expression. However, if I spit up now new money, the value is still $1,100 or $1,100, right? Because notice that what's missing, let me open up the screen right here. What's missing from what we're looking at there is if we look at this guy and this guy, if they're being added and they're being, right, here's the expression, there is no assignment, right? There's no assignment over here. The expression merely yields a value, right? In and of itself, there's no assignment, right? And so in that line there is no assignment. I could do that, right? I could totally do that if I come back over to the browser. I could write a little bit of code in here, as I showed you in the other video. New money is equal to new money, because I want to take whatever my new money was and I want to add another check to it. So this is on the right hand side of the equals. It's the same expression that I had up here, and if I hit enter, notice now that 1200, because that was the value that was assigned to new money, that's actually what gets spit out. But now actually I could just spin up arrow. Now new money actually has a value of $1,200. So again, knowing how to work with our tools is really important. Knowing what is actually changing the value and what is assigning the value is really important. So that is us adding a value. By the way, the subtraction operator, right, the minus sign, it works the same way, but it subtracts. So I'm going to focus here on just the addition. All right, so another thing that happens, right? See this operation, new money is equal money bank plus checked, right? I could say that, hey, I'm going to do the same thing again, right? Because I want my new money to be whatever it is that I have plus whatever I get in my check, okay? And since there's 4 weeks in the month, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm collecting 4 checks. So what is this going to end up yielding? It's going to end up yielding $1,400, right? So here's the new money again being reflected in the little graph and in the console log. That's how we do a very straightforward addition. However, there's a shorter way of writing this right here. And the shorter way of writing that is to simply say equals plus. I might have that backwards. I'm dyslexic. So we're going to find out real quick if it's equals plus or plus equals. And it turns out that I did have that backwards. It's going to be because, see, look, new money is equal to 100. Not good. So I want to say plus equals, right? And then what the plus equals is going to do, Let me just copy that here. And let's see what happens. Now we're back to 1400. Why is that? Is because this syntax right here is the equivalent of me saying new money is equal to new money plus check. Okay? So the plus equals is just a shorthand way of writing, let me take the variable that I have, the current value, and add to it check. And I want to take that expression, the value that is yielded from that expression, and assign it to the same variable here. All right? So that's a shorthand way of saying that. Again, the same thing that you could do. Let's just say if I was writing checks. So I'm going to write checks. I'm going to write 3 checks. So I started out with the money banked, which was 1,000. I added 100, and then I subtract 3. Boom, I get to 800. Okay, because I subtracted the 300 from the 1,100. This is really as much math as I want you to do, because the little shorthand operators is what I want you to really pay close attention to, because you see this a lot. Now, what is it that we see a lot of that I really want you to pay attention to is the following. Let's go again. We're going to end up coming back to, and I want to set the base. We're at 1,100. Oftentimes, we simply want to increment the value. We want to increment the value and say new money, because usually we're doing like some type of counter, plus 1, right? So if we did that, we just demonstrated that this is equivalent to saying new money plus equals 1, right? And so if we run that, we're going to say we have 2. Now, there's even a shorter way of doing that, and that's simply by saying new money plus plus, right? Now, here's the thing. Let's look at this behavior. New money plus plus, it's the 113, right? So then if I do new money over here plus plus, I get the 113, right? You know, you get 113, but hold up a second. Notice how it's actually 1104, right? So what happened there? All right, what happened there? Here's what happens, because here's the other thing. So right now the value is at 1104. I'm going to take my new money, and instead of saying new money plus plus, right, look, the value, it's giving me a preview. It's 1104 right now, but I'm actually going to say plus plus new money, and now I get my 1105 out. That's actually a little bit more of what I was expecting. And if I hit up arrow to check the value of new money, what's going on now is that it does show the appropriate value that I was shooting for. Okay, now what is going on here? When I do an operation like this, what I first do is I return, right? I return, or you can think about it as yielding the value, and then I increment. And this is different than this particular version of it, where I increment first, then yield the value, right? Really important, okay? So this is really important. Let me illustrate this a little bit more by simply saying var I, we're gonna call it counter. So here's my counter, and what I want to do is I want to console log my counter, and just so that everyone's clear that it's 0. Let me take out let me take out the rest of this stuff from here. Boom, and I'm going to leave this in here as a multi-line comment in case you need to see it for some of your notes that you might be taking. So I'm going to console log the counter, and actually I want to console log the counter. Let me take this out. So 3 different ways I'm going to call it. Just simple straight up counter. Then the next way is I'm going to increment it. So this is going to yield this value after I've incremented it. Okay? That's going to yield that value after I increment it. So if I hit Control S on that guy, my counter is now 1. Okay. Now, if I did the opposite, let me put the opposite back in here. If I said console log counter plus plus, what happens is that first the value gets sent to the log function, and then it increments, right? And then it increments. And if we wanted to see the actual value of what the counter is, I can actually just spit out here my counter in my console, and you can see that the value is 1. Okay. So that's the where we do math, right? That's how we do math, and the subtraction is very, very similar. Really important. Now, oftentimes you're going to see this plus plus syntax around variables that we call an indexer, right? So we're going to see an indexer. Sometimes we also see I for short. So I is probably one of the only times where I and J, they're both used as indexers, because we know I is customarily used as the keeping track of an index when we're going through and counting a particular object. I is probably one of the most used variable names for an index. And it's very well accepted that when you see an I inside of some type of loop, that's the index of the element that we're looping over. You're going to see I or literally the word written out as index. And why I wanted to show you this early, and so that you can refer back to it later, is that you will often see I plus plus. All right, so there I am adding a number. I'm adding another number. I add another number, and it doesn't matter in which order actually, it does matter which order I do it. But now I started off at 0. I added 1. I added 1. I added 1, such that if I come back over here and I see my I, it's the value of 3. Okay, so I plus plus, it increments. All right, it's going to increment the value of the variable called I, which in many use cases is going to be the index. So that's us using the plus symbol to add or increment numbers. You can also, right? You can also use the plus sign. Right, while we're here, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more. Let me show you. Inside of a future lesson for string concatenation, but I'm going to give you a little preview of it. But most of this conversation is going to pick up there, where if I have var message is equal to hi there, or I'm just going to say hello, and I'm going to put a space there. And then I'm going to say var name is equal to Gregorio. So I have two separate strings, but now I want to combine them, and I want to combine them in, how do I combine these things? Oh, wait, what happened? Message and name. Oh, name is, by the way, name is a, one of those variable names that the graph does not recognize because it's a really generic variable name. So we have message and first name. And now I want to say my greeting is going to be message, whatever I have on my message, and I'm going to combine it. So the operator used for addition, when we talk about it in the context of strings, like how do you add two strings? So you don't yield a number from it. What you yield is a new string, okay? And so notice here, message and first name are still message and first name. They're separate strings. But now here I have a new string, all right? And so we use the plus sign operator to do the combination and combining of strings, which is referred to as string concatenation. So that's a little preview of that video coming up ahead. We're going to continue to talk about operators, though, because it's really helpful to know how to work with a number of different operators before we start getting into if statements and loops and whatnot.